Parents of TikTok, what is the creepiest thing your kid has ever said to you? So this morning, I take my 4-year-old to the doctor. He had an ear infection a couple of weeks ago. We went in for a follow-up. Everything's okay. As we are leaving, we pass a couple of wheelchairs in the lobby. And my 4-year-old looks at them and says, "I've never used a wheelchair." And I say, "Well, your legs work just fine. You don't need a wheelchair." And my 4-year-old says, in his perfectly innocent 4-year-old voice, "After our car accident, I'll need a wheelchair."
Parents of TikTok, what is the creepiest thing your kid has ever said to you?
So my mom passed away when I was 11 years old. My daughter was born on my mom's birthday. At the time she was 5, we were eating at Whataburger. I had took her to eat after school. She was playing in the little play area, and then she just came to sit down, and she was looking at me like this, just staring at me. So I smiled, and I just gave her a smile back, and I will never forget this day in my life. She looks at me and she says, "Hey, do you know I'm your mom?" And I was like, "No, I'm your mom." And then she said, "Well, yeah, I know you're my mom, but I'm your mom." And I had never ever been so freaked out in my life. And she says, "I'm your mom." And I said, "No, no, no, I'm your mom." And she looks at me again and she says, "No, I'm telling you I'm your mom." And I didn't know what else to say. I just looked at her, and then she just looked at me again and she says, "I don't know what happened." And I said, "AJ, what do you mean?" She's like, "I don't know what just happened. I don't remember." And then she just takes off running back into the play area.
All right, TikTok, tell me the creepiest thing your kid has ever said. I'll go first. Last night, I had a terrible nightmare about my 2-year-old drowning in a pool. I know, it's terrible. So this morning, I was talking to my 8-year-old about pool safety, and I said, "So Jackson, when we stay at this house in Scottsdale, there's going to be a pool. It's really important you don't leave the door open because Lincoln could sneak out." Well, he stopped what he was doing. He looked at me, and he said, "Mama, I had a nightmare last night about Lincoln drowning in a pool." And then he went on to tell me details about it. He said he was in the water, he had his mouth open, but no air was coming out, only water. Guess who's fucking changing my Airbnb reservation today? Yeah, me.
What is the creepiest thing your kid has said to you?
When my son was about 3 years old, we were sitting down one night reading a bedtime story. My husband was not going to be home until pretty late that night from work. And as we're reading our story, my son looks out the window and says, "Mom, Dad's home." I look out the window, the dogs hadn't barked, the light's not on. And I said, "No, Dad's not home yet." And he said, "No, Daddy is right outside." And he's staring at the window and saying he's right there. And he's so angry at me that I won't let Dad inside the house. And so I look out the front window and I walk into my bedroom and I look out the slider thinking maybe one of the neighbors had come by, which would be really unusual because we did live in the country at this time and our closest neighbor was about a quarter mile down the road, but things happen. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was safe. Look out there, nobody's out there. And I'm telling him there's nobody outside. Dad's not going to be home until late. And he is adamant that no, Dad is outside. You need to let him in. And he's getting really upset. So I turn on the lights outside. I walk out there with him. There's nobody out there. And he describes, Dad is out there. He's in the red shirt. Dad is out there. You need to let him in. And I look at him and I'm like, Dad didn't wear a red shirt to work today. He wore his white shirt and his jeans. And he was just beside himself, angry at me that I was keeping Dad outside. Fast forward a few days, I had told my husband about this story. He was doing a search on his biological father. Now, mind you, they had never met. He's never seen a picture of him. We have no idea really what he looks like or much about him at all. During the search, we find out that his biological father had passed away around the time that my son had said that there was somebody outside. Now, the strange thing is that my husband doesn't really look like his mom. They have obviously similar characteristics, but we were really curious to know what his dad looked like because there's not a whole lot of similar facial features between my husband and his mom. I don't know what your beliefs are as far as the afterlife and spiritual realm go, but I definitely think that we had a visitor that night, and I think that my son saw his grandfather.
What is the creepiest thing your child has ever said to you?
Well, she's definitely said a few things, but the one that I can't get over is when she came to me really confused and was like, "Mommy, what did my name used to be?" I said, "Well, your name's always been Aspen." She goes, "No, like a long time ago." I was like, "Well, even when you were a baby, your name has always been Aspen." She goes, "No, I mean when I was older, you know?" And then she starts to describe her being older because obviously I'm confused. She's like, "When I had gray hair, you know, when I was older, when I used to live in the woods." She's like, "You know, remember when I used to make potions?" Okay, my 4-year-old does not know what potions is. She's never seen Harry Potter. She has no idea about like witchcraft or anything. My 4-year-old said potions when she used to make potions in the woods when she had gray hair. I'm like, "Baby, I don't know what you're talking about." She goes, "Remember when those people on horses would come to me and they would have to find me so I could make the death potions for the king?" What? I'm just sitting there like, okay. And she's very aggravated. Still to this day, she is very aggravated that I don't know what her name used to be, because she tells me often that she really liked that name, but she can't remember what it is. Also, she's told me on a separate occasion that my baby, her sister, her younger sister, that they used to be sisters, but they didn't like each other back then. But now she's happy that she's her sister again because now she likes her this time. I don't know.
TikTok parents, tell me the creepiest thing your kid has ever said to you. I'll go first. So when my daughter was around 3, almost 4 years old, I walked by her room and like I always do, I went in to kind of check her out and see what she was doing. And she said, "Oh, hi, Mommy." And I said, "Hi, honey, what you doing?" She said, "Oh, I'm playing with Raina." I said, "Oh, okay." So I walked away, didn't think anything of it, you know. Then a couple days later, I went back and she was again in her room, and I went up to her and I said, "Hey, baby, what you doing?" And she said, "Hi, Mommy, I'm playing with Raina again." And I said, this time a little more curious, I said, "Hey, baby, who's Raina?" And she said, "Oh, she's my friend." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Is she someone you know at school?" And she said, "No, she's just my friend and she's playing with me." I said, "Okay." And anyways, let it go. Then, you know, a few weeks later, she said, "Hey, Mommy, I'm playing with Raina again today." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Again, baby, who is Raina?" And she said, "Just a friend of mine, Mommy. She likes to hang out with me a lot." And I said, "Okay, all right." And so I was a little bit more curious at this point. So I went to her school and I went and visited with her teacher. And I said, "Hey, out of curiosity, do you have anyone in the class named Raina?" And they said, "No, we don't have anybody in the class named Raina. We don't have anyone in the school named Raina." It was a pretty small school at the time. And I said, "Okay, that's very odd, very weird." So anyway, I kind of forgot about it. And a couple months later, my brother calls to tell the family that him and his wife are expecting their second baby. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." I said, "Do you know what you're having?" And they said, "Yeah, it's going to be a girl." And I was like, "Oh, do you have any names picked out?" And they said, "Yeah, we do. It's Raina Lee." I was like, what? They're like, yeah, it's Raina Lee. And I was like, oh my God. At that point, I completely got chills. I mean, think that name is so rare. It literally just blew my mind. So what a crazy little thing. Could be a coincidence, but I don't know. Maybe not.